World 5 is just yet another great world in Super Mario Galaxy 2. I know it feels like I'm just lazily saying that to continue along with the retrospective, but it's basically what I've been saying every stage along the way. The platforming is great, the environments are great, even the atmosphere, it lives up to everything that you would want in a Mario game in my opinion. This far along in the game, I don't even feel like I'm missing the vibes of Super Mario Galaxy 1 anymore. Obviously, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, right around World 2, maybe World 3, I stopped caring about a lack of Comet Observatory, I stopped caring about the lack of emotional depth and the aura and all that stuff. And the more I went through the game, the more I felt like there were stages that could live up to anything that was given to you in Super Mario Galaxy 1 from an ambiance standpoint. It just so happens that the game continues to quickly move along, with slow points in between, but not nearly as much as in Mario Galaxy 1. So while in that game there were a lot more moments where you can stop to smell the roses, or so to speak, in Galaxy 2, it's all about that next challenge, that next adventure. And I mean, if you've been following along from when I did Galaxy 1 and leading up to this retrospective, you'll know that I value this a lot more than what was in Mario Galaxy 1. And again, that's not to say that I didn't like Mario Galaxy 1. I just like this one a lot more, and it might be my favorite 3D Mario game when this is all said and done. But I am getting ahead of myself. When I was making the World 4 video, I actually realized that I screwed up one of the stars that I got over there. Well, I say I screwed up, but what I mean is that my capture card bugged out on me. So before moving on to World 5, we'll go through that star real quick. It's a purple comet star in Starshine Beach Galaxy. It's a pretty easy one, not impossible to screw up on. I think I might have repeated it once or twice. But basically, you want to be Yoshi, you want to eat the dash fruit, and you want to just run your way across all of the water and collect as many purple coins as you can, specifically 100. There are 140 total, so it's pretty generous if you miss one or two, but in general, you just gotta be quick on your feet and be able to grab a dash pepper whenever you get to one. Probably one of the easier purple coin stars. And now we can go on to World 5. Starting us off, we have Space Storm Galaxy, Follow Me, Ba-Bomb. This one actually gives you Mario Galaxy 1 vibes right off the bat. It's got the Pool Star Challenge as well as the space theme in the background. It reminds me quite a bit of Dreadnought Galaxy. Your first challenge will be making your way across a cylinder in a 2D section while avoiding all the electric fences. There's a commanding tune in the background, the skybox is filled with dark clouds, and it all around makes the challenge feel just that little bit more menacing. Along your path you'll be able to grab your golden medal before making your way over to the launch star. There's no real way to get inside, so what you're supposed to do is run over the Bomb and guide him along the path so that he can get next to the cage and blow it up. Once that happens, you get access inside the tube and you can get to the launch star and head over to the next section. Over there, you get this rounded surface you gotta walk across with holes inside it, all the while once again using bombs to clear your path along your way. The whole Top Man tribe is here as well, giving you that feeling of Battle Rock and Dreadnought Galaxy from Mario Galaxy 1. And at the very end of it all, there's another Pool Star challenge that you gotta maneuver your way through in order to get to the next section. This, of course, will require you to carefully traverse while avoiding all the electric sparks along your way. At the end of all of it, you'll find the star waiting for you, and you actually gotta fumble around a little bit to make sure you can grab the star without hitting the electric fence. After that's all said and done, you can jump back right into the stage and go to the top of Top Man's Tower. Yeah, this is fun. It kind of reminds me of Boyo Base Galaxy, where you're meant to climb your way up the tower. I'm speaking about the small galaxy in Mario Galaxy 1, of course. The difference here is that there is an added challenge in that you have to keep hitting these switches to slow everything down in order to make your way upwards. Or I guess technically you might not have to hit the switches in all the areas, but it can get pretty hard if you're not hitting the switch. Honestly, it could get pretty hard if you are hitting the switch, especially with all the thwomps along your way that are just looking to crush you. I don't know how to fully explain it, but this is just good platforming. There's a lot of trial and error involved to make your way upwards, and when you fall, instead of having to restart an entire stage, you just gotta climb your way back up. The punishment is redoing the challenge. It's not even like that challenging or anything, but it's fun to kind of work your way up there and learn to maneuver around different areas to get to the top. Up there'll be a couple of top men waiting for you, and once you defeat them, a green one will pop out, which will allow you to do a bounce upwards and get the star. And right after that, I went to Upside Dizzy Galaxy, a walk on the weird side. So the stage is another one of those up and down gravity shifting segments where it's in the 2D plane. Early on, however, you might notice a green pipe maze, and if you get to the next section and jump through the orange pipe maze, you'll make it to the hidden area. Speak to a Guillermo, and he will once again ask you to destroy all of these boxes. You only have 20 seconds to make it through this one, so you'll probably have to try it a few times to get a feel for how everything goes. After a few failures of just trying to spin around and shoot every box as I can, I decided I'd have to reevaluate the way that I was doing it. I basically just ran to the bottom of the stage and kept moving along horizontally while shooting a fireball forward, and it worked out just great. I beat it with 1 second to spare. Okay, with the hidden star grabbed, we can go back to the main challenge. So this gimmick has obviously been done quite a bit both in Galaxy 1 and in Galaxy 2 at this point, but I think credit to them, the way they manipulate the gravity through different platforms makes it a little bit more enticing. You do have to carefully make sure you get to these areas with the upside down platforms that have the gravity pointing towards them, and doing so will allow you to move on to the next segments. There are also some switches you'll have to hit in order to change the gravity, as well as areas where it will alternate upwards and downwards on its own. Grabbing the comet medal was actually one of the funner challenges in the stage too, because it required you to make a jump at exactly the right time in order to grab it. As long as you carefully make your way across, and even more carefully jump in the exact right time so you can grab the star without hitting the electric fence, you'll be able to move on. Next, we have Boo Moon Galaxy. Now, in a previous segment, I mentioned that I love these haunted theme stages in this game, and this is just a continuation of how I felt about the first one. I went on about how much I enjoy the haunted themes in this game more than Galaxy 1, so I won't do it again. When you start the stage off, you are obviously given a chance to play at Luigi, which of course I'm going to take it because it's a ghost level. The opening area is basically a maze that you have to run through in order to make it to the launch star. Once you move on to the next segment, there's a platform that will continue to move and you have to stay on it in order to continue to traverse forward. This of course means knowing to spin in order to avoid taking damage from the various ghosts and knowing when to jump off to the next area when you get a chance. Eventually the ground will kind of shift, somewhat like Inception, where it'll just kind of, reality will fold. I don't know how to explain it, but you can see what's going on the screen. And you'll make it to a launch star and be shot up to what I thought was the moon, but I guess it's just a prop that looks like the moon. And after you collect the star chips, you move on to a segment that is basically a pop-up book. So when you ground pound on the switch, you're able to grab the silver stars. Once that's all said and done, you're able to get your star. This is all around a very eventful level, a lot of set pieces, and it's a lot easier for me to show you what's going on than it is to describe it, quite frankly. But once I did grab that star, a comet appeared for a previous world, as well as a Gearmo challenge actually. So it's time for a little detour. Heading back to World 3, first up is Beat Block Galaxy, Silver Stars in Double Time. This one's fun, the whole gimmick is that everything is very quick. So really, it's less about figuring it out and more about mastering your platforming. It's hard, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things where you're going to have to just keep trying over and over again until you get the hang of it. I think it took me about 3, maybe 4 tries, but it was fun to go through. It was a very exhilarating challenge. Next up was the Gearmo challenge that appeared, and it was actually back in World 5 in Space Storm Galaxy. Similar to the previous Gearmo challenge, we gotta find Gearmo and figure out what he wants in order to give us the star. In this case, he wanted a red spinner, which of course means using the bombs to clear the path and then just luring one of the red tops to follow you all the way to the end of that section. It's a bit of a challenge, but nothing too egregious. Once you get the top there, you'll be given your star, and you'll be able to move along. Also, I love that the Gearmo calls it cute. Everybody's got their type, I suppose. With that detour all taken care of, it's time to go back to Boo Moon Galaxy. The next star is titled Haunting the Howling Tower, and Boo Mario's coming back. And yes, he's just as awesome as always, and yes, he's just as underutilized as he was in the last game. You'll have to make your way through the opening maze again, only this time you're going to find a pipe that you're going to enter and make your way to a 2D segment. Right off the bat, you get the Boo Mushroom. Most of the challenge here is timing when to shake the controller in order to turn invisible so you can make your way through the cages. There will be gusts of wind pushing you through these sections as well, so you just gotta be careful about when you do and don't shake the controller. And of course, you'll have to weave your way between the ghosts. Honestly, it's not really that exciting of a challenge. At this point, I've yet to see anything with Boo Mario that really wowed me, but I love the way that Mario looks with this power-up. Heading right back into the stage, now you get to go for the hidden star. And when I entered the stage this time, I noticed that Luigi was just waiting for me. So I didn't know this at the time, but somebody in the comments mentioned that Luigi is actually a ghost of your previous playthrough of the stage. I don't know if that's true, or maybe it's just a ghost that you can race against, not necessarily your own previous one. But what I actually do know is that when I did this star, I was following the arrows of Luigi's footprints. I noticed that at the very end, when there was a launch star that I was supposed to take to the next segment, Luigi ran right past it. So I just continued to follow him along, and eventually he took me to the star, which I thought was pretty cool. He guided me to the star without me even realizing it. And after that, we were able to go to Shiver Burn Galaxy, the successor to Freeze Flame Galaxy, which I personally felt had to do a lot to live up to Freeze Flame because Freeze Flame was one of my favorite ones in Galaxy. Actually, I'm pretty sure I ranked it at the top. Either way, I might feel stronger about Freeze Flame just because of how much of an impact it left to me when I played Galaxy 1, but Shiver Burn is awesome. The first star is Prince Picante's Peppery Mood. You start off on a phenomenal looking plane of lava with platforms that you have to make your way across in order to get the cloud power up. Using a combination of the cloud power-up as well as these switches that'll turn everything into ice, you gotta make your way across to the launch star. Naturally, when everything's iced up, you get to just skate away across too. Before getting to the launch star, you'll notice a pipe maze, and that'll take you into another challenge where you can collect a hidden star. It's another chimp challenge, and it's one of those skating whack-a-mole style challenges. Pretty easy to get through. You might lose once, but I doubt you'll lose twice. Still, it's a fun skate speeding test. Once that's picked up, you can head back into the stage and continue on along your mission. This time, when you do make your way to a launch star, you'll get over to this next segment, which actually reminds me a lot more of Melty Molten Galaxy than it does Freeze Flame Galaxy. It's just high intensity platforming to make your way to the other side of this obstacle until you get to the launch star and move on to the next segment. Shortly after that, you'll bump to this segment where there will be a bunch of these octopi spitting coconuts at you, and you gotta slam them all back and knock them all down one at a time. It could get a little overwhelming at first, but you should be able to handle it. Once you take care of all those guys, the platforms will rise up and you're able to get across, skating on ice that is melting away until you make it to the final boss. So this fight brings back the whole thing where you gotta swing a coconut back into the enemy. It's just a lot more in-depth than it was against King Caliante in the first game. You spend a lot of time skating and being careful to avoid getting damage, either from the enemy or from the pools of lava on the ground. For the most part, you just gotta keep your eyes peeled for the coconut and be ready to attack when you see one getting spit out. And just like we went to Dusty Dune Galaxy after finishing Freeze Flame in Mario Galaxy 1, over here you head over to Slip Sand Galaxy, and the first mission is Squizzard's Sandy Sinkhole. So the first challenge is this long tube of quicksand that you gotta make your way across without sinking into it. In the next segment, it'll just be more typical platforming stuff, but at the same time, it's on quicksand, so you just gotta keep jumping and spinning to make sure you don't fall down. Eventually you get to a fire flower, which means you're gonna have to light up some torches in order to move on. Finally, you get to a pretty fun slide section, which basically is just a matter of strafing left and right to make sure you don't get crushed. After that, you get to a boss fight. So the whole thing here is making sure you time it so that you shoot the fireballs into its mouth when it's wide open. Obviously, all the while you gotta dodge the projectiles. It's a pretty fun boss fight for me, but I think it's kind of brought down because his face it's kind of goofy. I don't know. I mean, I don't think most bosses in Mario games look sophisticated or anything, but Squizzard's face is just not doing it for me for some reason. Either way, it's pretty easy to defeat him and move on. The next star is Sailing the Sandy Seas. When you start off in that same opening segment of the tube, you'll go down a pipe, and that'll take you into a 2D area. There's a bit of a puzzle element to figure out how to manipulate the gravity in order to make it out the other side. Once that's done, the launch star should be just ahead of you. This last section is a callback to the Sandbird, I think, but it's basically just a platform that you gotta survive your way across while avoiding the cacti as well as the magic Koopas. It could be pretty challenging, and it can get annoying if you fail because you'll have to start over from the beginning. Especially at the very end where the rolling chomp just chases you around, so you gotta carefully survive and avoid it in order to get the star. And after that, it's back to Shiverburn Galaxy for the Comet. This one's fun, or for me it is, because you just get to skate around and grab invincibility stars and just destroy all these Octoombas. I don't think it's challenging by any means, but I do enjoy skating, I enjoy moving fast, and I enjoy destroying Octoombas apparently. Well, let's move on. We can go straight back to Slipsand Galaxy for that Comet now, which is just a quick Daredevil Prankster Comet against Squizzard. So you gotta do the same fight again with a single hit, and it's actually pretty hard, but not the worst thing in the world. I've said it a few times before, but I think having a single hit during a Daredevil Comet actually does add a lot to the game because it makes you psychologically play differently and a lot more defensively than you would have otherwise. Either way, that pretty much wraps up everything for World 5 outside of the Bowser Jr. Galaxy. If you had a keen eye and you were paying attention, you might have noticed that the stages here were, for the most part, pretty dark. And that's in contrast to the previous stages where most of the worlds were bright colored. This world for me actually felt the most like Mario Galaxy 1, especially in the early game when everything was dark and mysterious. And it even had a lot of very similar stages too, or rather similar themes. Space Storm felt like Dreadnought, Slipsand and Sandy Dune, Shiverburn and Freeze Flame, Boo Moon and Ghostly. The only outlier here really is Upside Dizzy Galaxy, but even then it's got that 2D gravity gimmick that did take place in Mario Galaxy as well. All in all, the challenge was definitely felt over here, and given by this point in the game there is a lot less backtracking in order to fill up all of the stars that were missed in the early game, it is not a coincidence that it takes me almost as long to complete the stage despite not having to go back and repeat some older challenges. And that's because in World 5 everything actually got harder. I lost a lot more lives, had to repeat a lot more challenges. There is just so much momentum that's frequently being built up in this game, and the more I moved along, the better it got. And that's just something I wholeheartedly appreciate. In fairness, I felt like Galaxy 1 was the same way, but this game just feels a lot more exciting, a lot more exhilarating, a lot more like a 3D Mario platformer. At least to me anyway. Something I felt a lot in Mario 64, a lot in Mario Sunshine, and sometimes in Galaxy 1. But I feel it a lot here again, which is nice. Either way, pack everything up and head over to World 6. I'll meet you there.